Hey, Ken here. I finally figured out the seal. I know I did 2 videos and I thought I'd sorted it, but I was still getting a lot of, well, not a lot, but a bit of debris around under on the clean side of the drum, and it just wasn't right. I could feel as well at the bottom of the seal, it wasn't sitting on the drum properly. The sides were fine, it was the bottom was the problem. So I did sort it. I did get a little bit of guidance from DVS themselves, and I just wanted to sort of close out the seal saga with a sort of a definitive guide for anybody who's doing this to a DVS or a Queni-Koi or a similar type of drum. I know the seals can differ, but this is a fairly common seal from what I'm aware of. So first of all, to track back, why did the seal go? Well, there's 2 things seals don't like. It's silicone. It's nothing special about it, and that's the old one. It's just a long strip of silicone, couple of foot long by the looks of it, and don't know, what is that, about 10 mil? Would it be 10 mil? Probably wide, and it's very soft and pliable. This one isn't. So there's 2 things, and the main thing is, you can see at the bottom there, mine has gone very brittle. It cracked and actually broke, and I had a hole in it. Sorry, it's not from focus. What I had originally when I set up the drum nearly 3 years ago now was, I had the UV in here, which is currently going out to my trickle, and it was right up onto the seal. Now I have noticed, I'd say in the last 18 months, there's been debris in the bottom, so this has been a problem for some time. Also, you can see it's gone blue, and even in places where it's not really in full shot of UV light, it's gone fairly firm. So that's from 2 FMG treatments this year. I had white spot and I had Costia. 2 years before that, I had nothing bar a couple of fluke treatments I had to do, which isn't as severe on the seals. Well, that's why it had to go. So what you need to do is, first of all, take the old seal out. You can see there in this wall, there is a groove that goes right around. You can just see there the seal in it. So there's a machined groove right around in this wall here, and it's that depth you can see there, and that's what the seal slides into. It's a tight fit, but it does go in. What I found as well is it helps, because I was looking at it first, and you save you looking at the other videos. Do I have to take the drum out? Do I have to take the waste gully out? How do I get at this yoke? And when I made the first attempt with the drum in situ, I couldn't do it, just wouldn't work. So what I did was, you will see there's a bolt down there on the drive shaft. That is a H6 hex, which is there. And if you have a nice long extension on a ratchet, you can loosen that, and it allows the drum slide back by about 1/2 inch. Nice and easy. That makes all the difference in my experience, to get your hands in here. Sorry, make sure I'm on the film. Getting your hands in, but around the seal and pushing it in to the gib. I find if you start at one end, just slowly work your way around, and lifting it at this end to sort of lift it up where it's near the slot, push it in, and then you feed it in around. Takes a bit of feeling and getting there and understanding, but it does go in. What I found helped as well was silicone grease. Now, use silicone grease because it's safe for rubber. I use it for my UV seal, and I use it for this. You should pick it up in B&Q or Screwfix or any sort of hardware shop. Plumbers use it a fair bit. I didn't put it on the seal because I tried doing that the first time, and what happens is, if you put it on the seal, when you get the seal into the groove, it pushes the silicone grease onto the seal. Back along the seal, and then you need to grip the seal to push it in, and it's a bloody mess. I had to take it out again and clean it off. So just get your finger with the seal taken out and rub the silicone on the outside or as inside the groove as you can get it while it's the seal is out. You know, by the way, there's you need to empty the drum. So I have a vac that does that. You can pump it out, close your inlets, and just keep your pump going and drain it down. Don't have to drain it completely, just down below the entrance to the drum itself, and then drain down here, down below the entrance to the drum itself. And there are 8 screws, by the way. You might see 1 or 2 of them in there, you just about can. They're small Phillips screws, they're not very tight. All they do is there's no holes in the seal itself, so the seal goes in, and once it's in place, you put the screw in. You can actually push it in and it gets a bit of grip, it pierces the seal, and then just screw it in. I find you need a collection of screwdrivers because they're all, this one here gets up to the screw, there's screws right up here, but you can get them at an angle. You can contort yourself. It wasn't easy for me because of this shelf here, and I had bruises off the shelf on my shoulder and everything, contort myself, but it is doable. So I had all sorts of sizes and bits, and make sure you get the right Phillips bit as well. I'd say, you know, it's hard to get that in focus. It's not very pointy, it's not very blunt, it's kind of medium, and it fits nicely into those screws. If you can, just try the bit in the screw and make sure that it's a good grip, because if you slip a few times on those Phillips screws, you'll knacker them and you'll be in trouble. Right, so that's it. You get your old one out, you've got your silicone grease in along the groove, you start pushing your new one in. What I was finding was, even though I had the new one in, there was one instance here where there was a slight kink in the groove. Now if you find this, it was the only place I had this problem. The seal wasn't going in fully, so what I had to do was take the seal out again, get a bit of sandpaper. I tried to pry it with a flat blade screwdriver, but it kept closing again, so I just sanded it down enough, a load of silicone grease, and it pushed in. Got the whole seal in. However, for the last week since I did this job, I found in various places, particularly the bottom, the seal wasn't sitting flat. Why was that? Couldn't figure it out. I contacted DVS, and Patrick said to me, oh, you know, really the only advice is put the bottom screw in first, then put the 2 top screws in. And I was sort of thinking, well, why would you do it that way? Why? Because he didn't explain why. And then I was thinking, is it because the seal is stretched? And that's what dawned on me last night. And where I still had gaps at the bottom, I went along the seal, and this is where the silicone grease helps as well, and just massaged it along, because I think what's happening is there's tiny little stretches in it, in the groove, and it lifts the seal slightly. And as I sort of massaged it down from the top down to the bottom, lo and behold, the bottom fitted beautifully. And I checked it all around, and even with the drum pushed forward, it was beautifully flat and sealed, and that was it. So I don't know whether it's stretching or crumpling slightly with the seal, but that's what causes it to lift. So you need to massage it a bit and just push it down. You'll find the seal, I'm up here and it's kind of right there, but I don't mind. I just needed to massage it, and actually I find stuff for some reason tends to get thrown over here, so maybe that will stop it. It doesn't really matter. I could have evened it up, but I did have it evened up before, but it's that little stretch or something. So without having the screws in, is massaging it, and once you're happy that it's sitting flat right around, and that's really running your hand around and just feeling it. And if you get any push down and spring up from the drum, it's not right. You know, even with the drum push back, it should be nicely flat on the drum itself. you need to do a bit of massage and maybe push it down where you have a bit of spare, massage it around and get it to sit. It's a pain in the arse, it's a back breaker. If your drum is more accessible, it may be much easier, but for me it was difficult. But looking at it this morning, I am confident, and having felt it last night as I got it in place, I am confident it is now good. By the way, I've moved my UV here. I think in this combi drum, if you have to have it in the drum, that is the best place for it. It's not near any of the seals or anything. There is a bit of reflective light, but I don't think reflective light, there's probably a little bit of direct light getting on the seal, but it's kind of minimized. As I say, I didn't really have a problem up here. It was where it was in, you know, it was, when you think of where it went in here, the bottom of the seal was absolutely getting hammered by the UV, and it, you know, it happens gradually over months. And for the first winter that I had the drum, I left the UV running for the winter. To be honest with you, my pond is covered. Last winter, as soon as I put the covers on, I switched the UV off and took it out. It made absolutely no difference. I had no green water issues, no algae issues. The polycarbonate I have in the covers is UV resistant, so it was perfect. No issues. So that is really it. It's just get the old one out. As I say, check your drum. If you are seeing debris down here, if you've noticed that, or you're seeing debris in your bio, or you're seeing debris on your clean side before it goes back, you've got a drum problem. It's either a hole in the gauze, the sieve, or whatever you want to call it, which is easy enough to check, which is unlikely, or more likely it's the seal that's gone. If you have the UV in through the center, and I tried that as well, in through the back here and into the center of the drum, again it's hammering the seal with UV light. They're not UV resistant. That's likely your problem. And thanks to Dave again, who has not this drum but another Queni-Koi drum, and as soon as he saw me saying, oh, I've some of my videos, oh, by the way, I've just seen a fair bit of, you know, debris down here, I wonder what it is. And it was Dave came on one of the comments and said, had the problem, check your seal, it's the UV or a treatment is probably knackered it. So seal, it's not terribly expensive, it's just a pain in the arse to put in. You can get them in Queni-Koi, or you can get them, I got mine direct from DVS, but because Queni-Koi don't ship directly to Ireland as far as I know, whereas and it was much the same price, it's not any cheaper, but it was DVS. I find them, they were on holidays for a month and I couldn't get it, but they're I find Patrick there, if you have any technical problems, he's really good, and if he doesn't get back to you same day, it's because he's very busy. He generally does. So that's it. I hope that's of help to someone. If you have any questions, just ask, but it's having the right tools. I'd say for some, you probably don't need an extension that long, 1/2 that length would do it. I got these for doing work on my wife's car. I think I got a set of them in Halfords for the, I think that's what, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. I needed very long ones, as I say, that nut. What you can do is, if it stops and that nut isn't the right way up, it has to be facing up, and you can't move this by hand. What you can do is you can unplug the cleaning pump so you don't get water anywhere, turn it on and do a manual clean, and it will spin without washing, and just spin it until that's pointing up, and then you don't need to loosen it much, it's just a couple of turns and it flops back. But make sure the drum is in the same position, because there's a groove, sort of a flat groove, not a groove, there's a flat sort of surface on the drive shaft that bolt tightens down onto, so you need to have the drum in the same position when you're tightening it. So hopefully the sag is done. I've the UV out of the way, I won't have to worry about that for another few years. Thankfully I've sussed it out. As I say, silicone grease, push the drum back, remove the old seal, you'll have your 8 screws, multiple selection of different size screwdrivers. These ones that you can sort of ratchet are useful. They're not very tight. Once you get a grip on them, they come out handy enough, and they go back in handy enough. It's just the top ones are awkward, but they are accessible. Feed it in, and then while the screws aren't in it, make sure it's completely flat against the drum. You could even try push it. Well, it should, even when it's back or pushed back into its working position, it should be completely flat. In other words, you know, even the tip of the shouldn't be sitting up. If it's sitting up, you have a problem. You need to adjust your seal, as I say, knead it, massage it, run it around, take the tightness out of it, and it should drop it down. And once it's down right around and it's tight, as you can see there, with no gaps, you know it's right. And then you can start putting your screws in, as Patrick and DVS said. Do the bottom one or two first, then do your two top ones. That sort of holds it in place, and then the rest in whatever way suits you. And lots of bad language when you strip your knuckles, bruise your arms, strain your back. Hopefully others of you, if you have access around both sides of your drum and the back of your drum, it would make it a lot easier. I don't. I only have access from here, which makes it a bit more challenging. You may not need quite the selection of screwdrivers I have if you can get at it from the other side. So that's it. I'll put this up as a definitive Queni-Koi DVS drum seal change, and hopefully I'm sure there'll be other people doing this down the road, or will maybe look at it and don't even realise they have a problem. And Tarzan's in, won't be to play with him as usual, good man. But other than that, fingers crossed. I even noticed this morning the water has cleared a bit. I mean, it's only done, I only got it right since about 8 o'clock last night, so I'm not expecting a miracle. But I would expect over the next week. And it's not, you know, even when I had the hole in the seal, this bloody big hole, like the drum, you nearly expect, oh, the drum would do nothing. It wasn't. The drum was still flushing out and washing, you know, every 20 minutes or so, and flushing out a good bit of crap. And the water wasn't bad. I mean, there's a lot of people, a bit murky when you look sort of right across the 4 meters of the pond. Not as good as it had been, but still not too bad. But I even noticed, while it improved when I put the new seal on, I knew it still wasn't 100% after a few days, and especially seeing it's like an algae type dust type of thing. Like, it's a very fine, you know, it might always be invisible to the naked eye in the water, but it gets through and it settles here, and it settles in the bio chamber. Now I do have a vac, I can get it out, and it also settles a bit here as well, so that seems to have stopped. Because I even noticed after one night before I could see it again, and I vacked it last night. Now it's not going to get it 100% clean, but it is definitely no dust there, so I'm happy. So we'll leave it at that. Any questions or anything on it, let me know. But I hope this helps some people out there, because, you know, I could have done with instructions. I don't know if Queni-Koi, when they sell these things, they give instructions how to do them, but it's kind of gives you a strip of silicone, and it's kind of figure it out. Well, I've figured it out, thankfully, and hopefully it's of use to somebody else. Okay, be in touch again. By the way, pond temperature 14.7 degrees. Last night the temperature fell down to 7 degrees. So guys, we're definitely in the hearing the death knell of this season, that's for sure. Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Cheers.